Hello, how are you all today? Let me move this over here, move this over here, back this up so I can be ready. We are reading a new number one. We've gone through Dante's Inferno. Now we're coming to Dante's Purgatorio. Purgatorio. This is broken up into 5 sections. And then there's one last one, Parasito, Paradise. So there's 5 more sections of that. Roughly 10 hours of reading this epic poem. Yeah, so Inferno was amazing. Like, very enjoyable book that at times was like gruesome, disgusting, exactly what you would expect. So now we're going to click on this and go right into, boom, the new section. And it looks like it's got a lot of different subjects as we go through. I don't know what to call those. Headlines. Okay, let me open up my soda. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I didn't have the screen on. Boom. There we are. Okay. So I'm just going to copy the image as well, so I can save it for later. Okay, let's begin after my drink. The little boat of my intellect now sets sail to course through gentler waters, leaving behind her cruel sea so cruel. Oh, I messed that up. Leaving behind her a sea so cruel. And I will speak of that second region where the human spirit is purged and becomes fit to climb to heaven. But since I am yours, O sacred muses, here let dead poetry rise again, and here let Calliope sound a moment, accompanying my words with that mode of which the Parasites felt the power. Pararides? Oh my goodness. So that they despaired of pardon. The sweet color of eastern sapphire that gathered on the sky's clear forehead, pure as far as the first sphere, restored delight to my eyes as soon as I had issued from the dead air, which constrained my eyes and heart. The lovely planet that encourages us to love was making the whole east smile, veiling the fishes that escorted her. And I turned to the right and fixed my mind on the southern pole and saw 4 stars never seen until now, except by the first peoples. The sky seemed to be joyful at their fires. Oh, windowed northern region denied the sight of them. The poet meets Cato. When I had left gazing at them and turned a little towards the other pole, there where Bodes had already vanished, as I saw Solidarity, old man, with a face worthy of great reverence that no son owes his father more. He wore his beard long, flecked with white, like his hair, of which a double strand fell to his chest. The rays of the 4 scarred stars filled his face with such brightness that I saw him as if the sun were in front of him. Stirring that noble plumage, he said, "Who are you who have fled the eternal prison against the dark stream? Who has led you, or who was a light to you, issuing out that profound night that always blackens the infernal valley? Are the laws of the abyss shattered? Or is there some new counsel taken in heaven that you come to my mountain being damned?" That's a cool little sentence. Oh no. Oh, there we go. It seems like the aspect ratio of these pictures is different, which isn't a bad thing. Then my leader took hold of me and made me do reverence with my knees and forehead, using his words and hand. Then he replied, "I do not come of my own will. A lady came down from heaven, and because of her prayers, I helped this man with my companionship. But since it is your wish that more be told about our true state, it cannot be my wish to deny you. He has never witnessed the last hour, but because of his folly, was so near it that there was little time left for him to alter. As I said, I was sent to rescue him, but there was no other path but this, along which I have come." Excuse me. "I have shown him all the sinful people, and now I tend to show him all those spirits that purge themselves in your care. I would be a long tale to tell how I have brought him here. Virtue descends from above, that peoples help to guide him, to see and to hear you. Now let it please you to grace this coming here. He seeks freedom, which is so dear to us, as he knows, who gives his life for it. You know, since death is not bitter to you. In Utica, for its sake, where you left the body that will shine so bright at the great day. The eternal law is not violated by us, since he lives, and Minos does not bind me, but I am the circle where the chaste eyes of your Marika are, who in her aspect begs you, O sacred one, to hold her as your own. Lean towards us, for love of her allows us to go through your 7 regions. I will report to her our gratitude to you if you deign to be mentioned there below." He replied then, "Marika was so pleased to my eyes while I was over there that I performed every grace she asked of me. Now that she is beyond the evil stream, she can move me no longer by the law that was made when I issued out. But there is no but there is no need for flattery. If a heavenly lady moves and directs you, let it be sufficient that you ask me in her name. Go and see that you tie a smooth rush round this man and bathe his face so that all foulness is wiped away. Since it is not right to go in front of the first minister of those who are in paradise with eyes darkened by any mist. This little island nurtures rushes in the soft mud all around it from deep to deep, where the wave beats it. No other plant that puts out leaves or stiffens can live there because it would not give way to the buffeting. Then do not return this way. The sun that is now rising will show you where to climb the mountain in an easier ascent. So he left, and I rose without speaking, and drew back towards my leader and fixed my eyes on him. He began, "Son, follow my steps. Let us turn back, since the plain slopes down this way to its low shore." The dawn was vanquishing the breath of morning, which fled before her, so that from afar I recognized the tremor of the sea. We walked along the solarly plain like those who turn again toward a lost road and seem to go in vain until they reach it. When we came where the dew flights fights with the sunlight, being in a place where it disperses slowly in the air, my master gently placed both hands outspread on the sweet grass, at which I, who understood his intention, raised my tear stained face towards him. There he made my true color visible. The hell had hidden. Then we came unto the deserted shore that never saw a man sail its sails or sail its waters. Who could afterwards experience his return? There he tied the rush around me, as the other wished. Oh, marvelous! As he pulled out the humble plant. So it was suddenly replaced where he tore it. The sun was already reached the horizon, whose meridian circle at the zenith covers Jerusalem, and night that circles opposite him was rising out of Ganges with the scales Libra that fall from night's hand when the days shorten, so that where I was, the pale and rosy cheeks of beautiful Aurora through age were turned deep orange. We were still near the ocean, like people who think about their journey, who go on in spirit but remain in body. And behold, as Mars reddens through the heavy vapors, low in the west, over the waves, at the coming of dawn, so a light appeared, and may I see it yet, coming over the sea so quickly that no flight equals its movement. And when I had taken my eyes from it for a moment to question my guide, I saw it once more, grown bigger and brighter. Then something white appeared on each side of it, and little by little, another whiteness emerged from underneath it. My master did not speak a word until the first whiteness were seen to be wings. Then, when he recognized the pilot clearly, he cried, "Kneel, bend your knees. Behold the angel of God. Clasp your hands. From now on, you will see such ministers. See how he disdains all human mechanism, not needing oars or any sails, but his wings between far shores. See how he has them turned towards the sky, beating the air with eternal plumage that does not molt like mortal feathers." Then, as the divine bird approached nearer and nearer to us, it appeared much brighter, so that my eyes could not sustain its closeness. But I looked down, and it came towards the shore in a vessel so quick and light that it skimmed the waves. At the stern stood the celestial steersman, so that blessedness seemed written in his features, and more than 100 souls sat inside. That's a cool sentence. They all sang together with one voice in extra Israel de Egypto. When Israel went out of Egypt, and the rest of the psalm that comes after, then he made the sign of the sacred cross towards them, at which they all flung themselves on shore, and as quickly as he came, he departed. The crowd that were left seemed unfamiliar with the place, looking round like those who experience something new. The sun, who had chased Capricorn from the height of heaven with his bright arrows, was shooting out the light on every side. When the new people raised their faces towards us, saying, "If you know it, show us the way to reach the mount." And Virgil answered, "You think perhaps we have knowledge of this place, but we are strangers, as you are. We came just now, a little while before you, by another route so difficult and rough that the climbing now will seem like play to us." The spirits who had noticed I was still alive by my breathing, wondering, grew pale as the crowds draws near the messenger who carries the olive branch, and no one is wary of trampling on others. So those spirits, each one fortunate, fix their gaze on my face, almost forgetting to go and make themselves blessed. I saw one of them move forward to embrace me with such great affection that he stirred me to do the same. I'm going to save that one too. I feel like I'm going to have like 1,000 tweets of this. O vain shades, empty except in aspect, my hands met 3 times behind him and returned as often empty to my breast. I paled with wonder, I believe, at which the shade smiled and drew back. I hurried forward, following. It asked me gently to pause. Then I knew who it was and begged him to stop a while and speak to me. He replied, "Just as I loved you in the mortal body, so I love you freed. So I stay. But you, where are you going?" I said, "My Kalesa, I make this journey in order to return here again. Where am I? But how have so many hours been stolen from you?" And he to me, "If he who carries whom he pleases, when he pleases, has denied me this crossing many times, no wrong is done to me, since his will is full of justice. In truth, for 3 months past, since the beginning of the Jubilee, he has taken in all peace those who wish to enter. So I, who was on the shore where Tiber stream becomes salt water, was accepted by him in kindness. He has set his winged course to that river mouth now, because those who do not sink to Acheron are always gathering there. And I, if some new law has not taken your memory, or your skill in that song of love that used to calm all my desires, may it please you to console my spirit a while. With it, my spirit that coming here in its own person suffers so." He then began to sing, "Ama Chele Nella Momente Mi Ragina." I messed that part up. Probably messed the whole thing up. "Love that in my mind discourses with me so sweetly that the sweetness of it sounds in me yet. My master and I, and the people who were with him, seemed so delighted that they thought of nothing else. We were all focused and intent on his notes, when, behold, the venerable old man cried, 'What is this? Tardy spirits? What negligence? What idling is this? Run to the mountain and strip the scales from your eyes that prevent God being revealed to you. As doves gathering corn or seeds collected at their meal, quietly and without their usual pride, stopped pecking straight away. If anything appears they are afraid of, since they are troubled by more important concern. So I saw that a new crowd leaving the singing and moved towards the hillside like those who go but do not know where they will emerge, nor was our departure slower. Although their sudden flight was scattering them over the plain, I drew close to my faithful companion, turning to the mountain, where reason examines us. And how would I have fared without him, who would have brought me to the mount? He seemed to me to be gnawed by self reproach. O clear and noble conscience, how sharply a little fault stings you. When his feet had slowed from that pace that spoils the dignity of every action, my mind, which was inwardly focused before, widened its intent, as if in search, and I set my face towards the hillside that rises highest towards heaven from the water. The sunlight that flamed red behind us was broken in front of me. In that shape in which I blocked its rays, I turned aside from fear of being abandoned, seeing the dark seeing the earth darkened only in front of me, but my comforter began speaking to me, turning straight around. Why so mistrustful? Do you think you are not with me, or that I do not guide you? It is already evening there, where the body with which I cast a shadow lies buried. Naples has it, and it was taken from Brindisi. Now, if no shadow goes before me, do not wonder at that, any more than at the heavenly spheres, where one does not hide the light of any other. That power that does not will that its workings should be revealed to us disposes bodies such as these to suffer torments, fire and ice. He is foolish who hopes that our reason may journey to the infinite road that one substance in three persons owns. Stay content, human race, with the what. Since if you had been able to understand it all, there would have been no need for Mary to give birth. And you have seen the fruitless desire granted to them as an eternal sorrow of those whose desire would have been quenched. I mean, Aristotle, Plato, and many more. And here he bent his head and said nothing more, remaining troubled. Get this out of the way. All right, what do we got going on? Okay. Meanwhile, we reached the mountain's foot. There we found the cliff so steep that even nimble feet would be useless, the most desolate and the most solitary track between Laraki and Turbia and Luguraya is a free and easy stair compared to that. My master, halting his feet, said, "Now who knows which way the cliff slopes, so that he who goes without wings may climb." And while he kept his eyes downward, searching out the way in his mind, and while I was gazing up across the rocks, a crowd of spirits appeared to me on the left who moved their feet towards us, but did not seem to, they came so slowly. I said, "Master, raise your eyes. Behold, one there who will give us advice, if you cannot give it yourself." He looked at them with a joyful face and answered, "Let us go there, since they came slowly, and confirm your hopes, kind son." That crowd were still as far off after 1,000 paces of ours. I mean, as a good thrower would reach with a stone from the hand, when they all pressed close to the solid rock of the high cliff and stood motionless together, as people stop to look around who travel in fear. Oh, there we go. Virgil began, "O spirits, who end well, already chosen by the same peace that I believe is awaited by you all. Tell us where the mountain slopes allow us to go upwards, since lost time troubles those most who know most. As sheep come out of their pen in ones, twos, and threes, and others stand timidly, their eyes and nose towards the ground. And what the first does, the others also do, huddling to her if she stands still, foolish and quiet, and not knowing why. So I saw then the head of the fortunate flock of modest aspect and dignified movement make a move to come forward. When those in front saw the light of the hillside broken on my right by my shadow falling from me as far as the rock, they stopped and drew back a little, and all the others that came after them did the same, not understanding why. My master said, "Without your asking, I admit to you that this is a human body that you see, by which the sunlight is broken on the ground. Do not wonder, but believe that he does not try to climb this wall without the help of power that comes from heaven." And the worthy people said, "Turn then and go in front of us," making a gesture with the backs of their hands. I think I might save that. That's a good. And the one of them began to speak. "You, whoever you are, turn your face as we go and think if you ever saw me over there." I turned towards him and looked hard. He was blond and handsome and of noble aspect, but a blow had split one of his eyebrows. When I had denied humbly ever seeing him, he said, "Now look." And he showed me a wound on the top of his chest. Then, smiling, he said, "I am Manfred, grandson of the Empress Constance. And I beg you, when you return, go to my lovely daughter Costanza, mother of James and Frederick, Sicily's and Aragon's pride, and tell her this truth. If things are said differently there, after my body had been pierced by two mortal wounds, I rendered my spirit to him who pardons willingly. My sins are terrible, but infinite goodness has such a wide embrace, it accepts all those who turn to it. If the Bishop of Cosenza, who was set on by Clement to hound me, had read that page of God's rightly, the bones of my corpse would still be at the bridgehead by Benevento under the guardship of the heavy Carin. Now the rain bathes them, and the wind moves them beyond the kingdom along the river Verde. Made me think Salsa Verde, where he carried them a lumen spento with quenched tapers. But no one is so lost by the malediction of the excommunication that eternal love may not turn back to him as long as hope is green. It is true that those who die disobedient to the Holy Church, even though they repent at the end, must remain outside this bank for 30 times the duration of their life of insolence, unless such decree is shortened by the prayers of the good. I think I'm going to save that. There's like a lot of interest. There's probably more interesting stuff in Inferno that I could have saved, but to tweet out later, but I didn't. I feel like I understand a bunch of this better than the Inferno. See now, if you give me delight by telling my good Costanza how you saw me, and also my band, since much benefit arises here through the prayers of those who are still over there. When the soul is wholly centered on one of our senses because of some pleasure or pain that it comprehends, it seems that it pays no attention to its other powers, and this contradicts Plato's error that has it that one soul is kindled on another inside us. So when something is seen or heard that holds the soul's attention strongly fixed, time vanishes and man is unaware of it. Since one power is that which notices time, and another that which occupies the entire soul, the former is as if constrained, the later free. I had a genuine experience of this while listening to that spirit and marveling, since the sun had climbed fully 50 degrees and I had not noticed it, when we came to where those souls with a single voice cried out to us, "Here is what you wanted." Yeah, that was a weird paragraph. Let's argue something Plato. I'd have to read it again to get what they were even talking about. When the grape is ripening, the peasant often hedges up a larger opening with a little forkful of thorns. Then the gap through which my leader climbed, and I behind him two alone, after the group had parted from us. You can walk at Salerno under Urbino and descend to Noli near Savane. You can climb Mount Bismatova south of Rigo up to the summit on foot. But here a man had to fly. I mean, with the feathers and swift wings of great desire, behind the leader who gave me hope and made himself a light. We were climbing inside a rocky gully, and the cliff pressed against us on either side, and the ground under us needed hands as well as feet. Once we were on the upper edge of the high wall, out on the open hillside, I said, "My master, which way should we go?" And he to me, "Do not let your steps drift downward. Always win your way up the mountain behind me until some wise escort appears to us." The summit was so high, it was beyond my sight, and the slope far steeper than the 45 degrees a line from mid quadrant makes with the circle's radius. I felt weary and began to say, "Oh, sweet Father, turn and see how I am left behind if you do not stop." He said, "My son, make yourself reach there," showing me a terrace a little higher up that goes round the whole mountain on that side. His words spurred me on greatly, and I forced myself on, so far creeping after him that the ledge was beneath my feet. There we both sat down, turning towards the east, from which we had climbed, since it often cheers men to look back. First, I fixed my eyes on the shore below. Then I raised them to the sun and wondered at the fact that it struck us on the left side. The poet saw clearly that I was totally amazed at the chariot of light rising between us and the north, at which he said to me, if that mirror, the sun that reflects the light, were from above downwards, from the castor of Pollux, the Gemini, you would see the zodiac glowing round him, circle still closer to the bears, unless it wandered from its ancient track. If you wish the power to see that for yourself, imagine Mount Zion at Jerusalem and this mountain placed on the globe so that both have the same horizon. But are you in opposite hemispheres by which you can see if your intellect understands quite clearly that the sun's path, that Pantheon sadly did not know how to follow, has to pass to the north here when it passes Zion on the south? I said, clearly, master, I have never saw as clearly as I now discern. There where my mind seemed at fault, that the Median circle of the heavenly motion that is called the equator is one of the sciences and always lies between the summer and the winter solace, is as far north here for the reason you say, as the Hebrews saw it, towards the hot countries. But if it pleases you, I would like to know willingly how far we have to go, since the hillside rises higher than my eyes can reach. It looks like we're about halfway, and we're at about 40 minutes. So hour and 10 minutes, probably. That's what we've been averaging. And he to me, this mountain is such that it is always troublesome at the start below. But the more one climbs, the less it wearies. So you will feel at the end of this track when it will seem so pleasant to you that the ascent is as easy as going downstream in a boat. Hope to rest your weariness there. I answer you no more, and I know this to be true. Yeah, that's an interesting. I'm not going to put that end on there. I'm just going to put the boat on there. And when he had his say, a voice sounded nearby. Perhaps before then, you may have need to sit. At the sound of it, we each turned round and saw a great mass of rock on the left that neither he nor I had noticed before. We drew near it, and there were people lounging in the shade behind the crag, just as one settles oneself to rest out of laziness. And one of them, who seems weary to me, was sitting clasping his knees, holding his head down low between them. All right. I said, oh, my sweet sire, set your eyes on that one, who appears lazier than if sloth were his sister. Then he turned to us and listened, only lifting his face above his thigh, and said, now go on up, you who are steadfast. Then I knew who he was, and that effort, which still constrained my breath a little, did not prevent me going up to him. And when I had reached him, he hardly lifted his head to say, have you truly understood why the sun drives his chariot to the left? His indolent actions and the brief words moved me to smile a little, and I began, Belliqua, I do not grieve for you now, but tell me, why are you sitting here? Are you waiting for a guide? Or have you merely resumed your former habit? And he, brother, what use is it to climb? God's winged angel who sits at the gate will not let me pass through to the torments. First, the sky must revolve round me outside for as long a time as it did in my life, because I delayed my sighs of healing repentance to the end. Unless before then some prayer aids me that might rise from a heart that lives in grace. What is the rest worth? What is not heard in heaven? That is not heard in heaven. Did I already save that? I'm going to save it again anyways. It's better to save two than than none. And the poet was already climbing in front of me, saying, "Come now. You see the sun touches zenith. The night's feet have already run from the banks of the Ganges of Morocco. I had already parted from the shadows and was following my leader's footsteps when someone behind me, pointing his finger, called out, 'See, the light does not seem to shine on the left of him, below, and he seems to carry himself like a living man.' I turned my eyes at the sound of these words and saw them all gazing in wonder at me alone and the broken sunlight. My master said, 'Why is your mind so ensnared at that you slacken pace? Why does it matter to you why they whisper here? Follow close behind and let the people talk. Stand like a steady tower that never shakes at the top in the blasts of wind, since the man in whom thought rises on thought sets himself back because the force of the one weakens the other. What could I answer except, I come? This I said, blushing a little with the color that often makes someone worthy of being pardoned. And across the mountain slope, meanwhile, a crowd in front of us a little came chanting the Miserere or Miserere. I'm what was Miserere, alternately verse by verse. When they saw I allowed no passage to the sun rays because of my body, they changed their chant to a long hoarse, "Oh!" And I saw of them ran to meet us as messengers and demanded, "Make us wise to your state." And my master said, "You can go back and tell those who sent you that this man's body is truly flesh. If they stopped at seeing his shadow, as I think, that answer is enough. Let them honor him, and he may be precious to them." It's like a Bob Ross painting, except it's actually got people in it. $12.30. I never saw burning mist at fall of night, or August clouds at sunset split the bright sky so quickly, but they in less time returned up the slope and arrived there while the others wheeled round us, like a troop of cavalry riding with loosened reins. The poet said, "This crowd that presses us is large, and they come to beg you. But go straight on and listen while you go." They came crying, "O spirit, who goes to joy with the limbs you were born with, Pause your steps a while. Look and see if you ever knew one of us, so that you can bear news of him over there. Oh, why are you leaving? Oh, why do you not stay? We were all killed by violence, and were sinners till the last hour. Then light from heaven warned us, so that repenting and forgiving, we left life reconciled with God, who fills us with desire to see him. And I, however much I gaze at your faces, I recognize no one. But if I can do anything to please you, spirits born for happiness, speak, and I will do it, for the sake of that peace, which makes me chase after it from world to world, following the steps of such a guide. And one began to speak. Each of us trusts in your goodness, good offices, without your oath. If only lack of power does not thwart your will. So I, who merely speak before others, do beg you to be gracious to me in your prayers. At Fanto, if ever you see that country again, that lies between Romagna and Charles II Naples, so that the good may be adorned through me, and I can purge myself of grave offense. I sprang from there, but the deep wounds from which the blood flowed that bathed my life were dealt me in the embrace of Paduans, those Antenori, there where I thought that I was safest. Anzo, the estate, Esti, had it done, who were held a greater anger against me than justice merited. Though if I had fled towards Limira when I was surprised at Oriaco, I would still be over there, where men breathe. I ran to the marshes and the reeds, and mire swamped me so that I fell. And there I saw a pool grow on the ground from my veins. That sounds pretty gruesome. All right, 50 minutes. This one might take like an hour and a half. Then another said, oh, so the desire might be satisfied that draws you up the mountain high. Aid mine with kind pity. I was so of Montefeltro. I am Bonconte Gevina, has no care for me, nor the others. So I go among these with bowed head, and I to him. What violence or mischance made you wander so far from Capabildino? Your place of burial has never known. He replied, oh, at the foot of Castino, a stream crosses it called the Arciano that arises in Apennines above the monastery of Camaldini, Camaldini, there at Bibania, where its name is lost in the Arno. I arrived pierced in the throat, fleeting on foot, and bloodying the pain. If it's not apparent, whenever we get to like where like names of places are or people, especially if I can't pronounce them, I have no idea what they're even talking about. All I got was this guy got stabbed in the throat and is dying. There I lost vision and ended my words on Mary's name. So he was probably reciting Hail Marys. And there I fell, and only my flesh was left. I will speak truly, and do you repeat it among the living. The angel of God took me, and one from hell cried, O you from heaven, why do you rob me? You may carry off the eternal part of this man from here because of one little teardrop of repentance that snatches him from me, but I will deal differently with the other part. Hmm. You well know You well know how damp vapor collects in the air, which turns to water again when it rises where the cold condenses it. He joined that evil will, which only seeks evil with intelligence, and stirred the wind and fog by the power his nature gives him. Then, when day was done, he covered the valley from Pro, Protagamo to the great Apennine chain with mist and made the sky above it so heavy that the saturated air turned to water. Fell rain, and what the earth did not absorb came to the fosses, and it merged into vast streams. It ran with such speed toward the royal river that nothing held it back. The raging Archiano found my body near its mouth and swept it into the Arno and loosed the cross that my arms made on my chest. When pain overcame me, it rolled me along its banks and through the depths, then covered me and closed me in its spoil. Well, that's pretty cool. Look at that lightning bolt. I feel like you have to. Let's just do this. Save more, and you can always edit it. Edit the excess. A third spirit followed on the second. Ah, when you return to the world and are rested after your long journey, remember me, who am Lapia Siena, made me, Mamera, undid me. He knows who, having first pledged himself to me, wed me with this ring. Ugh, my nose is itching. When the gambling game breaks up, the one who loses stays there grieving, repeating the throws. Saddened by experience, the crowd all follow the winner. Some go in front, some snatch at him from behind, or at his side, recall themselves to his mind. He does not stop and attends to this one and that one. Those to whom he stretches out his hand cease pressing on him, and so he saves himself from the crush. Such was I in that dense throng, turning my face towards them, now here, now there, and freeing myself from them by promises. There was Benacasa, the Artine, who had met his death by Gin de Tacos, ruthless weapons, and the other Artini, Gogeche de Tarletini, who was drowned as he ran in pursuit of Camabaldino. Ferradino Novello was there praying with outstretched hands as Fronitica Scornaginelli. He of Pisa, whose father Marazuco showed such fortitude on his behalf. I saw Count Orzo and the spirit severed from his body through envy and hatred, and not for any sin committed. Or so it said, Pierre de la Brosse, and here let Lady Mary of Brabant take note. While she is still on earth, so that she does not end with the viler crowd for it. When I was free from all those shades, whose only prayer was that others might pray, so that their path to blessedness might be quickened, I began, oh, yo, who are a light to me. It seems that you deny in a certain passage of your Aeneid that prayer can alter heaven's decree. And yet these people pray only for this. Can it be they hope in vain? Or is your meaning not clear to me? And to me, my writing is clear. And if you think about it rationally, here hopes are not deceived, since the nobility of justice is not lessened because a moment of love's fire discharges the debt each one here owes. And in my text, where I affirm otherwise, faults could not be rectified by prayer, because prayer then was divorced from God. Truly, you must not suffer such deep anxiety unless she tells you otherwise. She who will be the light, linking truth to intellect. I am not sure you understand. I speak of Beatrice. You will see her above on this mountain's summit, smiling, blessed. And I said, my Lord, let us go with greater speed, since I am already less weary than before. And look, the hillside casts a shadow now. He replied, we will go forward with this day, as far as we still can. But the facts are other than you think. Before you are on the summit, you will see the sun return. That is now hidden now by the slopes, such that you do not break his light. But there, see, a soul, solitary, alone, gazes at us. It will show us the quickest way. We reached him. O Lombard spirit, how haughty and scornful you were, how majestic and considered in your manner. He said nothing to us, but allowed us to go by, only watching like a conscient lion. What's a conscient? Conscient? I've never seen that word before. Lying with the body resting on the legs and the head raised. There you go. That's couchant lion. But Virgil drew towards him, begging him to show us the best ascent. Through the Spirit did not answer his request, but asked us about our country and our life. And the gentle guide began, Mantua, and the Spirit, all preoccupied with self, surged towards him from the place where it first was, saying, O Mantuan, I am Sordello of your city. And the one embraced the other. O Italy, you slave, you inn of grief, ship without helmsman in a mighty tempest, mistress, not of providences, of a brothel. That gentle spirit was quick, then to greet his fellow citizen at the mere mention of the sweet name of his city. Yet now the living do not live there without conflict, and of those that one wall and one moat shuts in, one rends the other. Wretched country, search the shores of your coastline, and then gaze into your heart to see if any part of you is at peace. What use is it for Justinian to have renewed the law and the bridle if the saddle is empty? The shame would be less if it were not for that. Ah, race, that you should be obedient and let Caesar occupy the saddle. If only you understood what God has told you. See how vicious this creature has become through not being corrected by his spurs, since he has set his hand to the bridle. Oh, Albert of Germany, you abandon her. She who has become wild and wanton, you who should straddle her saddle bow. May just judgment fall on your blood from the stars, and let it be strange and obvious, so that your successor may learn to fear it. Since you and your father held back greed over there, have allowed the garden of the empire to become a wasteland. Careless man, come and look at the Montagues, the Capulets, the Monadili, and the Philippeschi, those who are already saddened, and those who fear to be. Come, cruel one, come and see the oppression of your nobles, and tend their sores, and you will see how secure Santa Fora of the Alba de oh Alba de Brondeseschi is. If that's not, I'm not even gonna look. Come and see your Rome, who mourns widowed and alone, crying at night, my Caesar, why do you not keep me company? Come and see how your people love each other. And if pity for us does not stir you, come and be ashamed for the sake of your fame. And if it is allowed for me to say, O highest Jupiter, who was crucified on earth for us, are your just eyes turned elsewhere, or are you preparing some new good that is completely hidden from our sight? For the cities of Italy are full of tyrants, and every peasant that comes to take sides becomes a Macrelli's against the empire. So who is it? Is this who I'm? Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's obviously by what it's describing. That's Jesus Christ, and who is this supposed to be? Marcus Claudius Macrellis, the Roman consul who opposed Caesar. I'm gonna save that. That's like a cool line. My Florence, you may well rejoice at your discretion, or digression, which does not affect you, thanks to your populace that reasons so clearly. Many people have justice in your hearts, but they let it fly slowly, since it does not come to the bow without much counsel. Yet your people have it always at their lips. Many people refuse public office, but your people answer eagerly without being called and cry, I've been to the task. Now be glad, since you have good reason for it. You who are rich, at peace, full of wisdom, if I speak truly, the fact will not belie it. Athens and Sparta, that fame the ancient laws, and were so rich in civic arts, gave a mere hint of how to live well, compared to you, who makes such subtle provision that what you spend in October does not last till mid-November. How often in the time you remember, you have altered laws, money, offices, and customs, and renewed your limbs. And if you consider carefully and see carefully, you will see yourself like the sick patient who finds no rest on the bed of down, but by twisting about escapes her pain. Oh, we're getting close. I think this one's going to take us till like 120 or less. After the noble and joyful greetings had been exchanged 3 or 4 times, Sordello drew himself back and said, Who are you? My leader answered, Then, before those spirits worthy to climb to God were turned toward this mount, my bones had been buried in Octavian. I am Virgil, and I lost heaven for no other sin than for not having faith. Sordello seemed like someone who suddenly sees something in front of him that he marvels at and believes and does not believe, saying, Is it, or it is not. And he bent his forehead and turned back humbly towards my guide and embraced him as the inferior person does. He said, O glory of Latin, through whom our language showed its power. O eternal praise of the place from which I sprang. What merit or favor will you show me? If I am worthy to hear your words, tell me if you come from hell and from what circle. He answered him, I come here through all the circles of the mournful kingdom. Virtue from heaven moved me, and with that I come. Not for the done, but for the undone. I lost the vision of the high sun you seek, and who was known too late by me. Down there, there is a place not saddened by torment, but only the darkness, where the grief does not sound as moaning, only sighs. There I am the innocent babes who were bitten by the teeth of death before they were baptized and exempt from human sin. There I am with those who did not clothe themselves with the three holy virtues faith, hope, and charity, but without sin, knew the others and followed them all. But if you know and can give us some indication of how we might come most quickly to the place where purgatory has its true beginning. He answered, No fixed place is set for us. I am allowed to go up and round. I act as guide beside you, as far as I may go. But see now how the day is declining, and we cannot climb by night. Therefore, I would be well to think of a good place to rest. Here are some spirits on the right. Apart, if you allow me, I will take you to them, and they will be known to you not without joy. Virgil replied, How is that? Would he who wished to climb by night be prevented by others? Or would he not climb because he could not? And the good Sordello drew his finger along the ground, saying, See, you could not even cross this line after sunset, because anything other than the darkness of night hinders you from going upwards, which obstructs the will through the will's powerlessness. Truly, you could not return downwards at night. The walk, straying along the mountainside, while the horizon shuts up the day. That's interesting. My lord, then my lord, as if wondering, said, Take us then where you say we might have joy in resting. We had gone a short distance when I saw the mountain was scooped out in the way that valleys are hollowed out there. The shade said, We will go there, where the mountainside makes a cradle of itself, and wait for the new day. The winding track that led us to the side of the hollow, there where the valley's rim more than half fades out, was neither steep nor flat, gold and fine silver, crimson and white cloth, bright and clear Indian wood, freshly mined emerald at the moment it is split, would all be surpassed in color by the grass and flowers set inside that fold of ground, as the lesser it surpassed by the greater. Here's where they're just chilling. And we're so close. Oh boy. Last page basically. 10:15. Let me take a drink. Not only had nature painted there, but had made there one unknown and indefinable perfume. From the sweetness of thousand scents, there I saw souls sitting among the grass and flowers, singing Salve Regina, who could not be seen from outside because of the valley's depth. The Monton, who had led us aside, began to speak. Do not wish me to lead you among them. Before the little sun sinks to its nest, you will see the faces and actions of them better from this terrace than if received among them down in the valley. He who sits highest and has the aspect of having left undone what he should have done and does not move his lips to the other singing was the Emperor Randolph, who might have healed the wounds that meant Italy's death, so that she is helped too late by another. The next, who seems to be comforting him, ruled Bohemia, the land where the waters rises, that the Moldua carries down the Elbe, and the Elbe to the sea. He was named Octokar, and even in his swaddling clothes was far better than the bearded Wenceslas, his son, whom lust and sloth consume. And that snub-nosed little Philip III, I feel attacked, who seems so deep in counsel with Henry of Navarre, who has so kindly a manner, died fleeing and withering the lily. Look at how he strikes his chest. Seeing the other sighing, has made a rest for his cheek with the palm of his hand. They are the father and the father-in-law of Philip the Friar, the plague of France. They know his wicked and sordid life, and from that the grief comes that so pierces them. He who seems so stout of limb, Peter of Aragon, who blends his singing with Charles of Anjou, him of the prominent nose, was conjectured. What is this word? Girdle? Cincture? Cinctured with the cord of every virtue. Oh, okay. So it's like a girdle of every virtue. And if the young man who sits behind him had remained king after him, the worth would have flowed from vessel to vessel, which may not be said of his other heirs. James and Frederick have the kingdoms, but no one has the better heritage. Human worth rarely increases through its branches, and this he wills, who creates it, so that it may be asked for of him. The words apply to Charles, the large-nosed one, as well as no less than to Peter the other, who sings with him, because of his son, Apulia, and province now grown, so that his plant more degenerate of its seed by as much as continents, Peter's wife still boasts for her husband more than Beatrice or Margaret do of the other. See the king of the simple life sitting there alone, Henry III of England. he had a better increase in his branches. That one looking up, who humbles himself lower among them, is William of Marquis of Monteferret, because of whom the town of Alessandria of Piedmont and its war made Monteferret and Conoverse weep. Whew. Okay. So that is the end of chapter 1. And maybe we'll read it tomorrow. Pretty doubtful. We'll probably read it on Monday. Well, maybe not Monday. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. When the stream comes on, you'll know it's there. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. And that is all. Yay!